Yes, Dricus Duplessis versus Sean Strickland 2 will not be a close fight. In fact, I don't think Strickland is even capable of winning the fight. And that is by the one reason that Strickland's style does not work well in any fight when it goes to the decision. Now I will go through the points and why Dricus will most likely win this fight and even might finish Sean Strickland.
Careful that he doesn't punch himself out. Oh! Massive knockdown from Topuria! And still, he does it again! Ilya Topuria!
Now, some of you might be asking, how can I make this debate when Sean Strickland is one of the best middleweights at the current time, with the current decline of Israel Adesanya and most likely never being able to challenge for the title again? Some of you would call me delusional or biased towards Dricus Duplessis as a fellow South African. But the biggest problem is Sean Strickland's style keeps him from being a definitive winner of a fight. That is why he has 8 split decisions in his career and recent close losses to Dricus Duplessis and Jared Cannonier. Now, some of you will say, Strickland will win this fight because he won the first fight. Where he did not. The reason Strickland did not win the first fight is because you cannot judge accordingly to someone who's just doing jabs and teeps for most of the round. Now, it did do a lot of damage to Dricus's face, but people must remember one of the biggest judging criteria in MMA is who's closer to ending the fight. That is why Dricus won the rounds where he had less output but landed bigger shots on Sean Strickland that were closer to ending the fight, compared to Strickland who only land jabs and teeps. That is why he won the first fight. That mixed in with the takedowns that gave him a bit of advantage, mixing it up so Strickland didn't know what to expect. And the people claiming that Dricus did a headbutt that opened the cut, that is wrong. I'll show a clip right here what happened actually, so you all can stop coping.
Closer and closer.
You heard Eric Nixon say, I don't like that round.
Yeah.
Did not like round 3 from Sean Strickland. He wants more activity from him.
And the reason why Dricus is easily going to win this fight is first off, the style that Strickland has leans more to losing fights because he doesn't have the aggression that MMA likes, and he walks forward the entire fight, but he doesn't do much with that. There's no nuance to his technique. He doesn't do anything new. The fight between Paulo Costa looked exactly the same like his last 3 fights. He doesn't change, and he doesn't listen to his coaches, as where Dricus Duplessis does listen to his coaches when something goes wrong. That is why Dricus has all the advantages in his fight. Strickland, we already know what Strickland's going to do. Strickland doesn't change. His technique doesn't change. His strategy is the same every time. It's so much easier to prepare for someone who does the exact same thing every time. That's why Israel Adesanya is currently on a decline. Because there's so much tape on him. And he didn't change his style much in the last few years. That's why people started to realize there's a gap in his boxing. And you think people won't realize the same gaps in Strickland's game. Dricus Duplessis also has the grappling advantage. We could see that he could take down Strickland, but he couldn't control him. I can guarantee you Dricus Duplessis has been working on his grappling, improving it, as we could have seen in the Adesanya fight, submitting him for the first time in his career, something that most people could never do. And I believe Dricus will have that great advantage against Strickland. Now, Strickland is a great grappler as well, but Dricus is so much more physically empowering than Strickland. I believe when it comes to the grappling exchanges, he will be able to take him down, but I think Sean Strickland will be able to defend the takedowns well enough to not be submitted. But I think he will mix in the takedowns more and more, so Strickland gets confused on what he's going to do next. Kind of like Ilya Topuria did to Max Holloway, and he's going to mix him in and catch him with an overhand. And Dricus has power, man. He knocks people stiff. You can't just stand in front of that man and take shots from him, especially for a 5-rounder. Now, Sean Strickland is great defensively, but that's why he's going to mix in the takedowns, make him tired, and bring him down. And that's also the fact that Strickland might have staph infection for this weekend. If he does have staph infection, I don't see him even have a chance of winning this fight. There's nothing that changed from the first fight to this fight that would make me pick Strickland. I don't know how anyone can pick Strickland. And as for the other fights on the card, Zhang Weili is being heavily underestimated by the people. Tatiana Suarez is great. She's undefeated, came off great submissions, but her striking is a bit lacking. And we're talking about the champ who has faced a lot of adversity in the women's division and is arguably, in my opinion, the women's GOAT currently in the sport. Obviously, Amanda Nunes, but different weight classes, obviously. But Zhang Weili is a great striker, great grappler. She looked like Volkanovski fighting against Amanda Lemos. And against Yan Xiaonan, she destroyed her. But the judges wouldn't stop the fight and they had to illegally wake her up with smelling salts after the first round submission. Then almost TKO'd her in the second round, then won the decision dominantly. Got caught a few times, but that's in the striking, not in the wrestling. Zhang Weili is a great wrestler. She's not getting submitted by someone who had a 4-year layoff. Zhang Weili is an easy money line. If you want to make money on the fights this weekend, bet on Zhang Weili. Maybe a first or second round TKO if you want to make money. Dricus Plessis, I predict, is going to win by third or fourth round TKO after mixing in the takedowns, getting Sean Strickland to think, and catching him with an overhand and finishing him on the ground. And as for another fight on this card, as you know, I'm a great fan of the Tupurias. Alexandre Tupuria is fighting this weekend, and people are vastly underestimating him because of his padded record. Now, I agree, he definitely does have a padded record. No one's record should look like that. But you know who else's record looked like that? Khabib Nurmagomedov. But no one talks about that because he's still a great fighter. Just because you fight cans in the lead up to your career doesn't mean you're not a great fighter. Look at Khabib. He's one of the greatest ever. Do you agree? Most of you would agree that Khabib is great. Now, people are underestimating Topuria because of this, but we must remember the boxing is almost on the same level for the two. The only difference is Topuria has a lot more power. Ilya, Topuria has a lot more power. But Alexandre Topuria is more focused on the grappling. I believe he will grapple him in the first 2 rounds, make him a bit tired, and TKO him in the second round with a bunch of ground and pound. Now, I'm very excited for those fights, but as for the rest of the card, I don't really care. It's honestly the worst card of the year, I hope. It's the worst card of the year. It's kind of rough to have it so early in the year as we're so excited for the UFC events. So yeah, thank you all for watching and I'll see you all next time.